And what about offence? This notion of offence really bothers. I've never been offended in my life. I've maybe been angered, I've been enraged, I've been incited to action. I've never been offended.
No, I haven't either. And when you look at these FPBE marching people who want us to stay shackled to the EU, or you look at the Trump people who are offended by him, and the pussy-waving, vagina-hatted people, there's almost a profession in being offended. We saw that on the Trump marches and the anti-Brexit marches. It's almost a profession, it's almost a sort of middle class. Oh, I must go out there and demonstrate, but I've got my chia latte with me, and I've got my designer trainers, and I might have left the kids at home with nanny, or I might have the appendage, which is my child, to come with me. And it's almost a profession that people have adopted, being outraged. As a female, I've never been outraged. I've never been outraged when somebody has wolf whistled at me. They're few and far between these days, but you know what? I welcome it. Come on, boys, do it. Have I been offended when my backside has been slapped? Well, no, not really. That was years ago. Would I start shaming and naming those men? No. I worked in Fleet Street, and there's some few well-known names that have slapped my bottom, talked about my breasts, the dirty Mac Brigade, invited me out for dinner. Was I offended? No, I just fought back because I was able to. And I think a lot of the kids now and these middle-class women, they've got to learn to actually grow a backbone.
Well, it's like you say, it's a big money industry. There's currency involved in being offended, isn't there?
Oh, there is. And if you're in the European Parliament, there are laws now against hate crime. There's laws here against hate crime. I mean, Tony Blair, what was the first thing that he and his wife did, because she's a human rights lawyer? The human rights industry has now become an industry. The race relations industry has become an industry. The offended, those that want to professionally being offended. There is money behind all this, and also laws that are brought in. It's very, very dangerous for our freedoms and freedom of speech.
Well, especially with Black Lives Matter and BME people, I call it whining your way to the top. It's like, oh my God, I'm not white, I'm oppressed. And it's a dangerous message to send out to young university students that if you're not white, then your life is essentially, you'll never amount to much. It's not a good message for universities to be sending out.
Well, what are universities there for? It's there for debate, but debate is being closed down. I was invited to debate at Oxford and Cambridge, and I turned it down. We're just debating amongst ourselves. I prefer to debate the wider people, but I bet now if they were to send me an information, if they were sent me an invitation, that there would be a demonstration outside because I'm so-called far right. I think there'd be the no platforming, and we have to question why are we funding these kids to go to these universities to be offended, to be professionally offended? And race, again, is the race, I think, is particularly pernicious. The LGBTIQ is particularly pernicious. Basically, we're all equal. Nobody is more equal than others. Women should not be getting to the top through a gender quota. We should not be having quotas for black and ethnic minority people. The next thing, it will be the LGBT people. You should get that on merit, not because of the colour of your skin or your sexual orientation.
Of course, and also, when you buy a book, for instance, it's your property, and the Quran is nothing more than paper and ink, held together by glue, but yet some people are being taken through the courts. On Facebook, people are burning the Qurans, and that's their property. They can do with it what they want. But somehow it's above the law.
Yeah, well, no, it doesn't. It isn't above the law because what is hate crime? And it is an interpretation. Are you offended? So if somebody rings up the police and says they're offended, then that is a crime. It's not a crime. Even this week, I read that there's a guy who's a sort of born-again Christian preacher was reading from the Bible outside St. Paul's Cathedral, and the bishop has banned him from basically eulogising outside of St Paul's Cathedral. Where are we going with all this? This is what we're going to stand up for. If I'm offended by something and I choose to rip it up, I chose to rip up Cameron's letter of appeasement. That was the letter that he got saying that we should stay in the European Union because this and everything had changed from Merkel. I stood there and ripped that up. Is that an offence? Well, according to the FPBE people, the EU, that would be would be an offence if somebody was offended by that. And that's where this is going. It's very, very dangerous.
I think it is a dangerous route to go down, whereby I've complained before to the police there's a Karl Marx office across from my building, and they said to me, well, are you offended? And I said to him, listen mate, I don't want to live in a world where someone's arrested because I'm offended. It's just simply wrong. They've got curse words up there, and there's children walking past and seeing them, so it's a very dangerous, it's a slippery slope we're going down, isn't it?
Oh, it has. I mean, I've been attacked in the European Parliament. I've been attacked by a journalist that was flying down trying to interview me. He had a big camera on the back of his shoulder. There was a plate glass window one side. I had heels on. It's very slippy. And when I raised this in the Parliament, we having this big debate on women and violence, etc. I said, well, I feel violated, tongue in cheek, but it was actually a dangerous situation because this guy is known as a drunk. And I said, you know, a drunken journalist chased me down the corridor because he thought he was entitled to interview me. Well, nobody's entitled to interview me unless I want to give an interview. And that was a very dangerous situation. I was also told that I was a stupid effing woman by a very senior Labour MEP. But that was okay because I come from the right on politics, and my offence and the attacks on me don't matter. Now, I'm not going to make a formal complaint about it because, you know, I'm me and I don't take offence. But when I stood up in the chamber and I said this, that what had happened, then all the voices were silent, from Angela Merkel's people right round to the hard left who always take offence over everything. There was silence, and Mrs Mogherini, the high priestess, so-called high representative, high priestess I call her, the gender quota, woman who is supposed to be the so-called foreign secretary, who was taking part in this debate as a female, but she's a gender quota, so I take no notice of her. But when I stood up, I said, Mrs Mogherini, you look at me when I'm speaking in this chamber. And she did. And she just sat down. There was no comment on the offences that had been committed against me.